100 construction companies have submitted plans and ideas for the design of Donald Trump's border wall. Now, to give you a better sense of what the requirements are, rules state that the wall must be tough enough to withstand attacks from sledgehammer, carjack, pickaxe, chisel, battery-operated impact tools, propane or butane, or other similar handheld tools for up to 4 hours, but also be aesthetically pleasing. Now, it has to be aesthetically pleasing on the US side. They don't care too much about what it looks like on the Mexican side. But it is interesting that it must be physically imposing in height, ideally 30 feet, but the terms also state that shorter options of 18 feet might be or may be acceptable, okay? Another thing that they kind of conceded on was that a second request for proposals was published with an option for the design to have a see-through component, which means it might just be like a mesh fence because this is expensive.
Oh, I thought it meant like a porthole or something.
No.
So you can like peek through and see if anyone's coming.
No, I think they're trying to make an exception because they realize that this is an insanely expensive project that Mexico is not going to pay for, US taxpayers are going to pay for. So maybe we'll just come up with like a mesh fence situation and then that's it. All right, so let me give you some of the proposals and some of the ideas. It involves drones and toxic moats. It's craziness, okay? I just want you to know where your taxpayer money is gonna go. So Clayton Industries of Pittsburgh have proposed digging a 100-foot trench along the border and filling it with nuclear waste. A flimsy chain link fence will run along the Mexican side, followed by a field of motion sensors. If any plucky border jumpers make it past the toxic trench, they'll be met with another 30-foot wall the other side, okay? So that's just one of the proposals, and they're like, I mean, I wouldn't call it toxic waste. They called it something else.
It's a 100-foot trench?
Yeah.
Do they have any idea how wide that is? You know how much toxic waste you would need?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that we can
generate it.
Yeah, exactly. We probably generate it in 1 day.
100 feet of toxic waste?
Yeah.
By the way, the people who talk about the border wall almost universally have never been near the border. Because we just showed you some people's houses are gonna be on the southern side of it because it has to cut across US land. It's not, they think it's just 100 miles from anything. People's property's right there.
Yeah.
They don't want 100 feet of toxic waste on the other side of a concrete wall from their property. That's bad for property values.
Yeah. Now, again, keep in mind that so far, around 400 companies have submitted design ideas. So just because we're explaining what one of the ideas are doesn't mean that this is what they're going to do. But it kind of gives you a sense.
No 100-foot trench
Who
nuclear
knows?
waste.
I mean, it's Trump, so he might go for like the craziest proposal. But this is also a very
Well, I would actually like to make a recommendation if that's okay.
Sure.
So I previously had no experience in the real estate industry, but that's okay. Jared Kushner got to start off without knowing what he's doing. So I would like to make a bid. So nuclear waste, you're not gonna be able to get that much nuclear waste. So I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this, but I'll explain it. So it starts off with a gigantic spinning meat grinder. And so as you walk towards it, you just get ground up and then it deposits the meat on the other side for wild animals. Every once in a while, the TNT under the meat grinder will explode in case anyone is meat grinder proof. Then there's the 30-foot wall guarded by Godzilla. So Godzilla patrols.
I wish you guys could see this drawing.
And he occasionally shoots fire and acid. It's an upgraded Godzilla if it's in the budget. Maybe we just do fire. And then just in case you get past Godzilla, Gandalf will stop you from passing in the fashion he has traditionally been associated with.
You have to take a photo of
So if a
that drawing.
Balrog tries to get into the US through the southern border, I think we got this shut locked down.
You have to take a photo of that drawing and then send it to me so I can post it on my Instagram where you guys can see it at Anna Kasparian Official.
Or at John Roll.
Yeah, just saying.
It's expensive, but I think we can do it.
It looks really good.
$20 billion.
I like how creative it is.
Thank you.
Now let me give you some other serious proposals.
I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean.
No, you know what?
Is this not serious? Okay, what do we got? What do we got? What's serious?
So Dark Pulse Technologies proposes a big ballistic grade concrete wall embedded with special sensors in order to notify border agents of the exact location of any tampering in real time. In keeping up with their Marvel Comics identity, their wall would be coded to prevent the use of grappling hooks.
And both of those are good ideas.
Yeah, I mean that's not the craziest,
Sensors?
right?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So
I
I
like
want to
that.
be fair to some of the design some of the companies with their design ideas, because not all of them are insane. Black Security Products of Austin, Texas has incorporated 4-inch holes in the bottom of the wall to allow animals to scamper across the border undetected, along with a riprap system of loose rocks so the smaller creatures can creep through the wall.
I don't know what that means.
So the reason why I brought this one up is because some of the construction companies are actually rather liberal when it comes to things like the environment. And so in this case, they're
sense.
like, we're worried about the animals. Animals are innocent, So
that's a serious concern.
Yeah, we don't want Mexican people to come to the country, but we want Mexican animals to come in.
Very small Mexican people could theoretically. I don't know what a riprap system is, but yes, you do have to account for the fact that you'd be massively messing up with the migration patterns of animals.
Yes, exactly. So look,
if you cared about that. Donald Trump.
And I do, but I don't think someone like Donald Trump does.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
of the proposals that I've mentioned to you, I seriously think that the most appealing would be the first one for Donald Trump, the one involving toxic waste.
So you didn't see, but I saw a one that was a 30-foot wall. It's pink because he swore it would be big and beautiful. So we're gonna make it big and beautiful. It's gonna be pink, it's gonna be really big, and it's got stairs on the north side so that curious Americans could get up and like look over the side at Mexico to see what has become of that wasteland. And there's a mall built into it, a gigantic mall.
Right.
So that would be pretty cool. And so obviously they're mocking the entire idea. But I saw that there was one that was just trees with hammocks. The whole thing would just be trees with 1 million hammocks.
I mean,
for thousands of miles.
I totally get behind that.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be a resort destination.
Well, pretty good, yeah. And someone wanted to make the entire thing out of solar panels.
Oh, I did see that.
Cool.
Yeah. So again, the solar panel idea is another example of them wanting to, be green in building this wall.
I'm going to incorporate that because I think that Godzilla could absorb the solar energy if necessary. I think that's an innovation that'll go into phase 2.
So we'll see what happens. Again, this is something that us as US taxpayers, we as US taxpayers will have to pay for, and it's a stupid idea. Regardless of what the design decision is, it's a stupid idea, it's a devastating idea, and we'll see how it all plays out.
The real resistance is fighting against Trump and the establishment. Help us get investigative reporters that are going to investigate both of them. TYTnetwork.com/go.